Parenting is the ultimate health curveball that nobody prepares you for. As soon as you hit your stride, you start popping out these little babies, and all of your progress sails away with the wind. Let's get into it. What is up, guys? Welcome back. Just want to remind you that we are here to be your guides in health and fitness. In a world full of misinformation, we are here to filter through the nonsense to give you clear, actionable steps you can apply in your life to achieve your goals. There is no such thing as one size fits all, so our protocols are built to be adaptable to fit your life. Now, when it comes to parenting and when it comes to your health, we've all had that moment that doesn't matter. We're grinding through that difficult season. For us, it sounds like, Mommy, Daddy, it's 11:30 at night, which might not be late for some of you. For us, that's like 3 hours after bedtime. I have to go potty, 1:30 a.m. Mommy, Daddy, I need a drink, 3:30 a.m. Mommy, Daddy, I can't find my tissue.
That's my favorite.
That's a good one. You just get stuck into the cycle of it. And keep in mind, this is after getting that 10-month-old, 11-month-old, 1-year-old to finally start sleeping through the night. And then your toddler or your 5-year-old or your 7-year-old, they hit their funk. So you hit your stride on one, you get thrown off with the next. And it just feels like this never-ending spiral, this giant snowball effect where sleep is off. Stress is always higher. Your eating habits become much more, for lack of a better word, they become poor eating habits. Your daily mental health protocols or any daily habit, those things are out the window because we are in survive mode. We are not in thrive mode. We are in survive mode. But how long do we let that go? Like we said, you've got the 1-year-old who finally hits their routine, and then the middle-aged kid or the older kid, they start dealing with something else. So how do we balance all these things? We're going to break them down. We're going to give some examples and really go a little more in depth than we have on this kind of thing in this episode.
It's funny because you can even rewind it to pregnancy. I know you can't relate to this, but
I think I can.
Josh has this weird thing where every time I'm pregnant, he gets like sympathy pregnancy symptoms. So like whatever I'm feeling, he starts to feel.
See, the superpower I always wanted was either blue flames or blue lightning to be able to come out of my hands and my fingers, like some kind of Thor, something along those lines. The one that I got, I'm just very, I don't know if intuitive is the right word, but sympathy feeling. Like I can sense your aura. I can sense your physical, whatever. I can just feel what those around me are feeling. And it's very annoying when you're pregnant and I'm exhausted.
Well, I was going to say this can be, we can rewind this to pregnancy because lately I've been like getting like pregnancy insomnia. Like 2 nights ago.
You got to be kidding me.
2 nights ago.
This is your fault. I wake up every night at 1:57.
No, it's not the same time every night.
It doesn't have to be exactly the same. This is your fault I can't sleep.
2 nights. I think it is just stress related. I don't think it's pregnancy related, but we have a lot going on. And I was just awake from like 3:30 to 5. And then I finally fell back asleep, and my 5:30 alarm did not happen. I snoozed that immediately, but it threw off my entire day yesterday. Like I was just in a cranky mood.
I'm still in it
from the second I woke up yesterday, and I could just tell like my patience with the kids was a lot less, and I just was not having a great day. But my point is that no matter where you are in whatever stage of parenting you're at, even if you're somebody listening to this and you're just pregnant, you're not yet a parent to a human on the earth side, is they're going to impact you because they rely on you to survive. So that you can apply this conversation to any stage of parenting, I think.
Well, that was the first one I wanted to dive into, so keep rolling with sleep.
Well, sleep is important. We know this. Everybody knows this. But it's one of those things where you have to focus on what you have control over when it comes to sleep. And we've talked about this before, but getting our kids to sleep is always of the highest priority for us. We are pro sleep training. We are pro helping them learn how to get a good night's sleep, because not only is it important for us as adults, but it's important for them. And it's important for them to, like, sleep is the driving factor in how they're growing and how their brains are developing and their behavior on a day-to-day basis. So if they're not getting adequate sleep, you're going to see that in some other area of their life. So that's why I'm so big on always shouting out Samantha. We have a full podcast with Samantha Day. We worked with her with Kai. I used her resources with Cora, although we didn't need them as much with Cora because I felt like I had a better understanding of how to set Cora up for success from what I learned with Kai from Samantha. So she has a ton of resources that are free. She has a podcast. She has downloads you can download. The biggest thing was just like following those wake windows from pretty much from the start, from when Cora was a newborn, and she's been a great sleeper. So setting them up for success is important, but also setting yourself up for success is just as important. For us, this means we often are not staying up super late just because that's our time to unwind for the day. Do we have that time to unwind? Yes, but we don't drag it out longer than it needs to be just for the sake of it. And, getting into bed at a decent hour, some of you are going to laugh because when I say decent hour for us, that's what, 8:30, 9?
In bed reading by
in
like
bed
8:15.
Like, we did our whole bedtime routine. We washed our face. The house is tidied up and we're ready to go. So when we don't do that, I notice a big difference in my sleep for the night, but also it just continues to impact and compound day by day by day.
And in all these other factors we're going to dive into, it starts with sleep, and that's why sleep comes up number one. But, we are blessed to have a ton of support with our family. Our kids' grandparents, their aunts, uncles.
Well, even with each other. Like, you have always been a big help with me getting sleep, even with our newborn children. Maybe not as much with Cora. I think I was up more with her. But with Kai, like, I remember we would switch off shifts, and we would do, like, one person would get a good 4-hour chunk because you took the first shift with him overnight. And then when he would wake up again earlier in the morning, I would get up with him and we would flip-flop. But that alone helped so much. So if you're a single parent or if you don't have a supportive partner, I feel for you because it definitely does impact things greatly. Yeah,
the direction I was actually going to take the end of that sentence. Yes, they do all those things and they're wonderful. But, initially there was a lot of, I don't know if pushback is the right word, but we had to be very firm about that routine and how it was completely non-negotiable, whether, it was an extra 45 minutes, half an hour. It was, this is the time they have to go to bed. This is the time they go down for a nap. Like, that was a non-negotiable, for us to be able to optimize our routine. But really 1B on that is, like you just said, their development and getting into those natural cycles and actually having a consistent routine. The reason our kids sleep so well is because we have been so consistent with those routines, and it was not a question. It was not something that was negotiable. It was, this is the way it is. This is the way that's going to continue to be. You need to buy into that. And even for ourselves, like, we're in bed most nights by 8:30, like, house clean, face washed, reading and drinking tea at 8:30 until we're, ready to fall asleep by 8:45, 9 o'clock, hopefully. So a lot of things that happen in the evening, we miss out on. If there are events that start at 6:30 or 7, which is still very early, we're probably not going to those unless it's a very special occasion. It's, it's gotten to the point where, I used to feel bad about a lot of things and, I can't do this. We're not going to do that. Now it's just, nope. Can you guys, nope. What about nope? It's just a no. Like, for us to thrive. And that might sound selfish. It might sound, over the top to some of you, but this is what works for us.
And again, the big things we are saying yes to.
The big things we're saying yes to.
There are exceptions to that rule, but all the little things that pop up, it's one, we have no interest in being out that late because we know it sets the tone for everything else, for our kids, for us, our moods, how we like to live. We are our happiest and we are thriving when we commit to those boundaries.
Yeah. So those are non-negotiables. We even just had this conversation just based on business lately. Like, there are things we are not going to be doing. Like, we have some huge events. We've got weddings and stuff that have to happen. Other than that, it's work and take care of each other, take care of our immediate family, and, be there for each other.
For the financial side and for just
For
our
everything.
mental sake of just being alive.
So yeah, this is all, and this is going to make sense as we go throughout this episode, but this all compounds on itself. And, starting with sleep, but going into habits and going to everything else you're doing, the positive decisions you make, the things that add value to your life, are going to lead to more positive decisions and more positive momentum. Whereas if you settle here and you compromise there and you let this one thing slide a little bit today, you're going to keep repeating those decisions and those habits and those actions. So you're going to feel worse. And over time, this is how did I gain 30 pounds? How did I, get to this point where I look like shit and I feel like shit and my health is declining? Well, that's how. It's the tiny areas you compromised repeatedly. It's not one big thing that shifted. It's the little things over time. So that's where, again, special occasions, of course, go out and live life and do the fun things. But on a regular basis, are you checking the boxes that actually allow you to enjoy life and to be happy and to be healthy and to be getting the most out of, not just the fun events and the vacations, but every single day? Those fun events and the vacations and things, that's less than 1% of your entire life. How does your regular work week look? Are you balancing the stresses? And again, we'll dive into all this stuff further, but are you doing the things that makes life enjoyable so you're not leaping from one period of time into the next and fast forwarding and missing years and years and years of actual living?
Yeah. And listen, kids are unpredictable. There's going to be wake ups. There's going to be things that don't go to plan. Kids get sick. They have to pee. They need a tissue. They can't find their green blankie. All the things
that green blankie
we've heard countless times. And yeah, you can't control those wake ups, but you can control a lot of other things leading up to bedtime. Just the simple idea of having a bedtime and a consistent wake up time on the weekends. I mean, Kai, now that he's getting a little bit older, we sometimes let him sleep in, but like we've always woken our kids up by 7 on the weekends to keep the routine that we have during the week. It doesn't shift. And that's something that we have preached to clients over the years to help them commit to a more consistent routine. So it's something that we, of course, are going to keep for our kids. And I was actually just talking to our coaches on our team meeting this morning about how we were talking about like the topic of like kids' activities and sports and how they're so much later these days than they maybe they used to be. I mean, I don't know. I didn't really play like sports like you did, but there's some, Kaylee was saying that some kindergartners have practice at like 8:30. It's their hockey practice starts at 8:30 at night and is an hour, and then they're not home in bed until 10 o'clock, a kindergartner.
Then we wonder why we have behavioral issues and all these other things.
I mean, obviously, Kai's just getting into the age where there's sports and activities and things, but we always decide, okay, listen, we're going to do soccer this year. We make that decision together with him, make sure it's something that he wants to do, he wants to try. But as we go through life and as he wants to do these things, we're going to have a family discussion about it and determine, is this best suited for our family values, for our core values? And if it consists of having practice 5 times a week at 8:30 p.m. and he's in elementary school, I don't know that I would support that. I mean, maybe we find something else for him to do or find a different avenue for him to take there. But again, I'm sure this will come up at some point in our lives. But for those of you who are in it now, you have to make decisions that work best for your kids, of course, but for the overall family too. Because if it's splitting up the family and this kid's not going to bed till 10 o'clock, you never have family dinners together, you're barely seeing each other day in and day out, at what cost is it worth it to you? So just some food for thought. I know things are in a weird place right now and it's just completely different with kids sports in general. But at the center of it all, you have to make decisions that work best for your little family unit.
And just to give you guys some check marks, we'll go through each of these specific quote unquote health struggles. And obviously you're going to hear our story for these, but give you some actionable steps. So optimizing sleep for the whole family. You kind of heard our routine rant throughout this conversation, but establish those family-wide sleep routines, your bedtime rituals, screen off, by a certain hour, ideally, an hour before you go to sleep. Swap that for some tea and some together time and reading, meditation, whatever that is. Blackout curtains can help, and just being very consistent with your sleep and wake times. That's the sleep hygiene we're going to be talking about there. So if you want to put on an eye mask, I use the eye mask instead of the curtains. I know you wear the earplugs. I stopped wearing those. But really settling in before bed, giving yourself that consistency there. Now, another part of being a parent, which might sound ridiculously obvious, but it's just being stressed. It feels like things are moving at 1,000 miles per hour all day, every single day, especially if you're in those sport routines. So you've got school all day and work all day. So you're rushing around in the morning, and then you're racing off to practice and games in the evening, and then more games and tournaments on the weekends. Our typical morning, just to run through it, kids are typically up by 7 o'clock. I'm finishing up whatever I started with work, prior to that, getting some articles up and sending out the emails. Scoop Kai, get him dressed, feed the dogs, go for our family walk.
I kind of take Cora.
Yep, little prep, and then we meet up for breakfast and for our walk.
Yep, we always walk right when they get up after they get dressed. Well, Cora doesn't get dressed because she's not going anywhere, but Kai does. And we go it's literally 14 minutes, I think I timed it the other day, to the end of our road and back, just to get outside, get their bodies moving, get our bodies moving, be all together before we all kind of take off for the day. Come home, we do all eat breakfast together, so I make them probably eggs and toast or some oats or whatever we're having that day. And while I make their breakfast, I also make my breakfast. So that's another thing. Like, I'm sure we'll get into the nutrition side here, but making sure you're not sliding yourself because you're trying to prioritize your kids' meals. Like, it's not that much more time or effort for me to make myself the same version of their breakfast to ensure I'm also fed. Because if I don't eat,
it's not good for anybody.
It's not good for anybody.
So while she's doing that, I am making Kai's lunch and his snacks. And then when they start eating, they sit down. I actually run out to do my cold plunge for a couple minutes, come back in, make my breakfast, wrap everything up before getting Kai ready for school, or in the car to school. And Cora comes with us. But that's the hurricane of the morning, every single morning during the week. And that continues for most people and for us throughout the day and in the evening. There's always a deadline, it feels like. And this is something where, when it comes to stress management, recognizing that and getting yourself to, if you can't hit pause, just hit slow motion, like slow it down, come back to the present moment. This is why I'm so big on meditation or just mindful breathing. If you can't sit down for 10 minutes at a specific time right now, or you're just not into it, like, just start with some focused breathing, settle in. And this is something we also work on with Kai, and we're going to work on with Cora, and we're going to work on with the baby when it comes of age. Just being able to recognize your emotions when you're feeling overwhelmed and slowing things down. That is the purpose of meditation. That is the purpose of mindful breathing, is coming back to that present moment. So, we can't necessarily make our schedules that much less busy. They're always going to be, but we can remove some of the chaos and that chaotic feeling and that just anxiety of rush, which I catch myself in every single day. So it doesn't go away. These things never disappear. You just get better at managing them.
I got a really great message this morning, actually, about this topic. Ashley, if you're listening to this episode also, she said, "Good morning. Just wanted to share this. On one of your podcast episodes, you guys were talking about regulating emotions in your kids and how you've taught Kai to deep breathe if he gets upset. And you said you started that around 2 years old. My son is 2.5 almost, and I just started that with him right after I listened to that episode. His teacher at school this morning told me that she was so impressed by the fact that he does deep breaths on his own if he's getting upset in a certain situation. Such a great piece of advice to teach kids to self-regulate and learn how to deal with their internal emotions."
That's incredible, Ashley.
Yeah, I loved hearing that. So
that's really cool to hear.
I love that you guys are actually taking action on these little tidbits we give that seem like, I don't know, they don't feel like big shares to us in the moment, but they can make an impact, and it makes us really happy to hear.
That's the thing. None of these are big to-dos. Like, the things we talk about are just bite-sized pieces that you pick which ones work with what you got going on, and who's in your family. Is it just you? Is it an entire family? You got young kids, you got older kids. But again, our mantra for this entire podcast is through awareness we create change. So you do not have to overhaul your entire lifestyle, no matter what the gurus on Instagram and so any other social media platform tell you. It's the tiny little shifts, the tiny habits, the tiny decisions, the tiny actions you're taking every day that make the biggest difference over time. So, I just talked about this on my channel in my last video, but you read 10 books, you watch 10 videos, you read 10 posts, whatever it is. If you can take 3 things from those posts, from those videos, from those articles, from whatever piece of content you consume that says, this makes sense for me, that's a huge shift. 3 tiny things can make a huge shift in your life. So just goes to show you, being able to apply that for a little while, and your teacher, someone outside having no idea what you're doing at home, already picking up on that, that was a huge, huge plus in your child's development because you decided to take that action. You decided to be the change.
And think about the ripple effect. Maybe that teacher now sees that and starts to share it with other parents who are struggling in that area. So really, really cool and awesome to hear that. But I just wanted to share.
Love that. So again, guys, juggling work, school days, sick days, keeping everyone alive, the stress piles up. And, not just feeling wise, but, your cortisol, things are actually happening physically within your body that can lead to suboptimal health, and that can lead to these chronic conditions, which lead to the major conditions over time. So in the moment, yes, it's great to focus on stress management and stress relief, but in the long term, there is a huge dividend to be paid. So again, implementing something small, 10 minutes of meditation a day, bedtime routine. Let's circle back to that. It's, get my cup of tea after the house is tidied up, cup of tea, sip that. That is me being present. I love smelling the tea before I even drink it as it's cooling down. I'll just sit there, pet the dogs in bed, finish that, meditate for 10 minutes, and then it's reading the book until I'm about to pass out. Then the light goes off and I fall asleep. But that practice will physically change your brain. It'll reduce those anxiety and stress centers. It will improve your ability to stay mindful throughout the day and recognize stress and implement a core breathing strategy in the moment, which will actually have massive health benefits now and down the road for you. So if we're going to do a little checklist for this one, guys, you can call it scheduling stress relief, just like you would a meeting. It's for yourself. It's not optional. I'm going to meditate at this time, whether it's the first thing in the morning to create some clarity for the day, whether it's the middle of the day, maybe it's after lunch. So you've already got that break scheduled in there and it sets you up for success for the rest of the day, or you use it to unwind at the end of the day, or all three. Setting that time up for yourself, teaching your kids about that emotional regulation. So A, they don't stress you out more, but B, they understand how to control their emotions and, not freak out. And that's going to be huge as they grow up and get older and understand that was already built into their foundation. Something as simple as focus on your breathing. Are you upset? Let's take some deep breaths. Let's calm down. Incredible tool, as Ashley's example already showed to you. And then building your support network. We haven't talked about this a whole lot. I think it's something we could dive into in some later episodes, but build out your community. Obviously, we're very close with our family, and our friend circle has gotten a lot smaller, but we're doing better with the small group of people we still interact with outside of our family. But that social connection, it's a huge piece of this. So for stress relief, for your overall health.
Even just for if you're struggling with something your kid is going through, having a mom friend to text and say, hey, did your kid go through this? Or what would you do in this situation? Just having someone to talk to can be so helpful.
Absolutely. Now, next up, your eating habits have also likely gone off the rails. So, you've got snack plates, you've got your kids' unfinished meals, last minute dinners. Again, if you're running around, you're looking for those convenient options. So this is not going to be to demonize doing what you have to do in the moment and what you have done in the past in those busy moments. But this is about being aware and creating change. So how can we set ourselves up for success? So, first thing in the morning, we're running late. Maybe not grabbing that bag of Pop-Tarts. Maybe not, focusing on Lucky Charms. Coming back from football practice. Maybe not relying on McDonald's as the go-to every single night. Again, once in a while, guys, those things are not going to be a big deal. But to be fully transparent, and again, not to demonize, not to fearmonger, those are not things you want in your regular routine, in your regular rotation of foods. That is not a daily staple. It's probably not even a weekly staple. Once in a while, not going to be the end of the world by any means. So don't be terrified. But if that is a normal part of your cycle right now, look into shifting that.
Yeah. I mean, as an example, overall, my parents taught us well growing up with nutrition, but I think many people, I was so big on carbs. Carbs were the main sources of most of my meals as a kid. And I'm talking I would have 3 bagels a day, and I don't even know what else. Pop-Tarts were definitely in the rotation there too. But I remember having to come home from school, starting in middle school probably, and I've always felt like I needed to take a nap immediately after school every day. I would always be so tired I didn't want to go to dance. I was just exhausted all the time, and I think a large part of that was because I was basically just living off of those simple carbs most of my childhood. So I think this is a great example of setting your kids up for success so that they can perform their best if they do play a sport. And then also yourself, like if your plate is not balanced and you have super low energy and you just are constantly hungry all the time and you always want another snack, you're probably not consuming enough protein and fiber and whole foods in general. So small shifts we can take to help ourselves get more energy and feel better and honestly be our most energized self as possible, even as parents of young kids.
So here's where I call bullshit to all of the gurus who are the quote unquote anti-fear mongers and explaining to us that a calorie is just a calorie. Here's where I call bullshit. When I was, early 20s, I can say peaking around 21 years old, eating close to 5,000 calories per day, getting some whole foods in, but really just calorie, protein.
To be clear, if you don't know what Josh looks like, you were doing this to like bulk and to gain muscle, right? It wasn't because you were not like ever overweight as a kid. Like you were always
I was
like
the skinny kid. I was always a skinny kid. So my goal was always to get to 225 pounds. I accomplished that. And I wrecked my gut health and my overall health in the process of that. Now, that wasn't entirely related to diet, but I do believe was a huge component of that. I drank a lot in college. I took a lot of unregulated supplements that are now banned. Jack 3D, thank you very much for a lot of the shit that I'm dealing with now. But anyway, got diagnosed with Barrett's esophagus, had a host of gut issues. SIBO was a consistent thing, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. That was just something I went through on the regular basis, just cycling through this shit. But that being said, like I said, close to 5,000 calories a day. So I would chug 2 cups of oats mixed with protein and have a couple Pop-Tarts with that, have a quick 1,200 calorie meal, chicken, rice, whatever. But again, the bagels, all the cream cheese, all the processed things that were calorically dense, not nutrient dense, massive spikes in blood sugar, always tired due to that crash. Relying on caffeine, which I really couldn't drink because of all my gut issues and how uncomfortable I was and just in pain all the time. It was this vicious cycle. Now shift to where we are today. I'm not even tracking calories, but 95% of what I consume is single ingredient whole foods, and I'll create delicious things out of those things. And I think we've gotten really good at doing that as a family and, not relying on going out to eat a ton, the pre-made stuff. Like we're good at making whole foods taste really, really good. And that has led to my healing journey. I'm not going to break that all down here. We've got a couple episodes on that and on my channel. You can hear about that. But I've come a long way, and not just in healing. Currently almost 4 years clear to Barrett's esophagus without any drugs.
But it was also to the point where you didn't want to travel. You didn't want to leave our house. Like you always felt so tired and crappy that you didn't want to do life things. And it makes me wonder too, like where you would be today as a dad if you did not change anything. Like it would impact how you're parenting our kids, but also like just our family dynamic. Like we are so grateful we get to go out and run around with the kids and do things with the kids and do family trips here and there. You would not have done that years ago.
No, I wouldn't have. We were on our honeymoon in Maui, and all I could think about is wanting to go home because I was so uncomfortable. My anxiety was so high and it was just horrendous. Like I missed out. Let me be very clear. I am extremely grateful for the experience. To your point of, because I am like this, we were able to do these things. I would not be like this if I did not go through that.
No, I know.
There was a period of time in my life where I was out of control. I cannot explain to you how much I drank, and I would black out every single time, took a ton of supplements. I would be in a completely different place if I didn't go through that. Like I am grateful for the taming experience that was. That being said, it did take a decade away from my life. Where I was a shell of myself, and this is going on 13 years. I've only had my energy back and felt like myself for a couple of those, like the last couple of years that finally came back around. But I learned from that, and the things we talk about, the things we preach, our methodologies with coaching and with our app, that is all stemming from my struggle with Barrett's esophagus, and it has been dictated by my perspective, my input on those things. Obviously, not everything. Has been impacted by my struggle and the things that I had to go through to climb back to where I am today, to where we are now as a family, and the lessons I learned, Even just thinking about fiber and fiber diversity and gut health. Those are paths and rabbit holes I wouldn't have gone down if I wasn't in so much pain for so long. So I am very grateful for the experience. I am very grateful for the struggle because A, I can appreciate life as it is now, and B, I learned a ton because of it. But to bring this full circle, guys, it doesn't have to be to that extreme, but these little things that we don't think about, the kids' snacks, they're marketed as healthy. They're marketed as natural, as organic. And then you flip the box around and there's 100 ingredients on it. There's 15 grams of added sugar. And again, one little thing here and there, not going to be the end of the world. But when your diet consists of those things all throughout the day, it is not difficult to consume 100 grams of added sugars per day, especially for our kids and all the things. You can't have a fucking gummy vitamin without sugar in it.
I think kids' snacks as a whole is just a marketing ploy. The kids don't need special snacks because they're kids.
No. Kai's snack, so here's a fun snack with Kai. Some natural fruit roll-ups, which is literally just the fruit ground down into a roll.
Bear, I forgot the brand is. It has a bear on it. We got them at Whole Foods.
Or the dried mango, which is essentially the same thing.
Dried mango without added sugar.
Without added sugar, not the one that's pasted in sugar, which we bought once and really pissed me off. It was like 15 pounds of sugar on you don't need sugar on the mango. It already tastes like candy.
Yeah.
And maybe some popcorn. Or sometimes it's grapes. Or some other chopped up fruit. Strawberries.
Whole Foods.
That's our dessert half the time.
Sourdough bread with butter. That's his favorite.
His
it doesn't
lunch,
have to be these crazy fancy kid snacks, and you don't have to spend money on the more expensive organic kid snacks. Just keep it Whole Foods and you're fine.
His lunch is typically a peanut butter sandwich, organic, whole wheat bread, whole grain bread, power grains, power seeds.
One Mighty Mill is our new favorite brand of bread because they're stone milled, so it doesn't stay fresh as long unless you freeze it, which is probably think about it, it's probably a good sign. But it just tastes great and it has great fiber and it has all great ingredients in it. So that's our current fave.
You'll have that, pistachios, and then typically again some fruit, the dried mangoes or strawberries or grapes or blueberries or whatever. And those are the things our kids crave. We have a bunch of fruit bushes going down our driveway and we walk by it during our morning walk and Cora grunts at us and yells at us to run over to the raspberries
until we bring her to the raspberry bush. But again, these small choices can make a big impact on your kids from a young age, and they can make a big impact on your energy levels as an adult. No matter where you are right now, if you take these small shifts, you will see almost an immediate return in an area like energy levels.
So let's go through some check boxes, guys, things you can mark off for eating habits. Plan your meals in advance. Use something like a Sunday meal prep, or maybe it's bi-weekly. Maybe it's Sunday and Wednesday to just set yourself up with some foundational pieces you can eat throughout the week. Get involved in choosing healthy snacks for your kids. Again, it doesn't have to be anything crazy. If you want to make some fun stuff, if you want to make your own granola balls, cool. Make that a family event once a week and a family, experience. Otherwise, grab some fruit, grab some nuts, whatever it is that, you can throw into that lunchbox to kind of break it down and remove some of that added shit that you don't really need and your kids don't need. So keep it very simple, guys. Just focusing on balanced nutrition, optimizing your overall health. You're going to feel it within the week. If you guys are really heavy on the highly processed stuff, you will feel so much better and you're going to drop weight just due to water weight and some inflammation, depending on how bad your diet is right now. Now, let's bring it back to a little more wide scope, but just your routine in general. That routine rut when your daily habits go out the window. Parenting obviously throws your personal routine into chaos. So things like exercises, hobbies, personal care, those things all become afterthoughts, and your new norm is a lack of consistency. So obviously the more things you have going on, the more responsibilities you have, the more efficient you need to be with those things within your routine. But just to give you guys, again, a quick example of a morning routine, things that allow us to thrive and that give us at least 5 minutes before the kids wake up. Wake up, brush your teeth, wash your face, come out, I journal real quick, and then I start my work. I'll do about an hour and a half of work before anybody gets up. That'll continue post breakfast. Like I talked to you guys about, as we kind of split it, divide and conquer, I finish up my quote unquote morning routine with that cold plunge every single day. And that's my fresh start, 37 to 39 degrees, 2 minutes in and out, and we're back in with our day. But I do that consistently. And then there are things like meditation, there are our entire, bedtime routine, those little things where we're not creating more time to do those, but with the time we have, what are we slotting in those couple of minutes or moments that allow us to optimize our day?
Yeah, and I think a great example of this is think about how often you do have a few of those moments. Maybe you have 15 minutes and you choose to scroll Instagram or scroll TikTok or spend it in a way that isn't truly adding value to your life. If you took an audit of your current day and added up all those, even if it's just 5 minutes here and there, it probably adds up to a good 30 minutes by the end of the day. And just imagine what you could do with that time instead, even if it's something small like journaling for 5 minutes or even going for a 5-minute walk. It sounds like it's not a lot, but it's something, and something is always going to be better than nothing if it's contributing to your overall health and well-being.
And even taking that a step further, you just found them a half an hour. In all likelihood, it's more than that. But go into your bedtime routine and you come back and you want that moment to breathe. Instead of scrolling, it's, watching Netflix for a few hours. What if you watched one episode instead of 3 episodes, and then your next thing was some type of personal development hobby, learn a new language, write a blog, start journaling, and then you finish that last hour up with some reading. You meditate, you read. For me, again, it's the tea involved with that. But I guarantee, because we all, as parents, like we all crave it, it's that the door closes, they're asleep, I want to be awake for a few hours and just not think about anything. So a lot of times that's just vegging out in front of the TV. If you can still do that, or your phone, but you can still do that, like take a half an hour, watch an episode, scroll for a little while, but don't let that get to 10, 11, 12 o'clock. Take that 30 minutes to 1 hour to decompress, and then do something that's actually going to make you feel better outside of that.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like, even we fall back into that too. Like yesterday when I was having my off day because I didn't get great sleep the night before. Cora she's rough right now because she's popping another tooth, but I finally got her down to nap, and I was like, I had that moment of like, oh, I just want to sit and scroll mindlessly, and I did, and it was 35 minutes later, and I could have started my workout 35 minutes earlier. And then Kai came home from his day with Mima, and he interrupted my workout. So if I just committed to starting my actual workout on time, I would have had a nice solo workout. But instead, it got interrupted and pushed back because I chose to scroll. And that scrolling, I can't tell you, there was not one single positive thing I got out of it. I didn't get any creative ideas for content. I didn't get anything positive from it. It was just like, now I look back and it was just like wasted time. It was a negative. So don't think that we have it all together, number one, but also number two, those things often they might feel good in the moment, but they're often not contributing positively to any other aspect of your life.
Yeah, you might have needed a 5-second decompression period, but because of the way the algorithm works and you're looking for that next little drop of dopamine, the next thing you like. And I will say too, it's like, I feel like especially social media, especially Instagram, has gone downhill. Like you're scrolling because you're looking for that thing you're actually interested in and that you actually like, and that's actually going to provide value. And there's very little bit of that. Like, so you're still flip. That's why I'm loving the podcast. I'm loving getting into YouTube more consistently. Like there's more of a connection there. There's more value there. So I hope you guys feel the same way. But that was my little tidbit. So breaking this one down, checklist, develop micro routines. So instead of aiming for an hour of something, can you get 10 minutes of this? Can you sneak in a few moments of that? Just, itemize your day. And it sounds very robotic, but these are the way you have to think about these things sometimes. Morning, afternoon, evening, what can you fit in? What's actually going to add value? What are your personal goals? So right now I'm reading the seven habits of highly effective people. The second habit is begin with the end in mind. So what are things you want to accomplish? What are values you want to live by? And how can you build in things based upon those? So for example, if you say you have a goal of reading a book per month, reading 2 pages per night before bed could be a habit. So think about what the end goal is, what you want to accomplish, what do you want to get better at, and then build in little things that you want to do, what's realistic, and where can you slot those in. So that's what we're going to talk about, or that's what you're going to think about as far as building those in. And make sure that you are doing those things for yourself and it's not all robotic like we talked about. Next up, this is kind of bringing it all full circle, and we've touched on it a bit, but to really break it down, building a health-conscious family culture. So parenting isn't just about you. Your health impacts your entire family and vice versa. as you get those things built into your family routine, your family health, things get easier for you as well. So it's all about creating this family culture that's centered around health, crucial for everyone's long-term well-being. What does that balance look like for you?
Well, first, I think the worst mindset to have in this regard is, oh, I'll focus on me when the kids are grown, or they're grown up. They don't need me as much. I'll wait until then. That is the worst thing you can do, not just for yourself, but for them too, because you are then showing them that their self-care does not matter. Their health does not matter, because you're modeling that for them.
A, you're not showing up as your best self for them, and B, your actions become their norms.
And that's the thing that like irks me so much about when people totally miss the point of like that post we talked about in a recent episode of how I let Kai cry with you and myself, and putting myself first and getting my workout in. Exercise is not just to change how your body looks. So many people are still stuck in the mindset that we only should work out to change how we appear, and it's a very vanity focused aesthetic thing.
It's just an excuse.
Yes.
It's just an
absolutely.
excuse.
Is it though, or do people just totally not? They have no idea.
A very small percentage, I would say, are totally oblivious to the overall health, especially at this point. Like, you can't go on social media without being blasted by the fact that exercise is good for longevity and health span. So there are some people who are totally oblivious and naive to that concept, to that idea, to that fact. The rest are just putting hate out to those who are doing things to improve their lives where they don't feel like it, where they don't have the willpower to implement it.
Maybe. Anyway, but my point is that your self-care matters, and your self-care matters for you and for them. So you have to model how you want them to think about your kids when they become adults. What do you want their life to look like? Do you want them to be successful in all areas of success, not just like financially? Like, when I think about success, I want my kids to be happy. I want them to be healthy. I want them to live a long, active life and do the things that they want to do. They're not going to learn that from anyone else except for me. That is not something they are teaching them in schools, most schools at least. It is not something the government is helping them understand. We are the people that are leading them as far as what to fuel their bodies with when it comes to nutrition, how to move their bodies, how to take time for themselves, how to take care of their mental health. So if you are not doing that, you are not modeling that for your kid. They're not going to take your word for it. They're going to follow in the footsteps of what you are doing action-wise.
1,000%. Now, hopefully this laid a blueprint for you guys. You have an outline of a bunch of different areas. You got some checklists within each one. We also have our website. So if you go on there, we have freebies. We have our low ticket, which is our app. Very minimal, $24.99 a month, which outlines our 5 pillars, along with our coaching, which is the more higher ticket. That's, app is guided. Coaching is, hey, I need someone to walk me through this. And
someone actually just asked me the other day, like, hey, I can't afford coaching right now. I really would love it, but how can I make progress if I can't work with you guys through coaching? And I said, this podcast, all the freebies. How many freebies are on our website? 8?
6 to 9, somewhere in that
Somewhere
range.
like
And we
that.
have one. We're actually running an ad now for a freebie for the Mom Guide, the Mom Strong the Era, and the Super Dad Protocol, which is basically the SDE method, or our method of coaching, training, nutrition, mindset, movement, habits, those pillars of health, and then explaining in further detail what they are, how we have applied them, and how to implement them yourself.
Yeah.
So that's free, and we're paying money to promote an ad to get you guys to download that for free.
So we have the freebies. We have the blog that you've been updating every
Daily.
day. We have our email list that we have daily emails go out with tidbits to help you, as well as weekly if you don't want them every day.
Daily emails are turned into the blog. Daily emails are done.
Oh, okay. So go to the
we
blog
have updates on the weekly emails.
And then, we have, if you've spent 30 minutes of your scrolling going through my Instagram page, you would learn so much. Even our YouTube pages, like, we are putting out as much free content as we possibly can. We're not gatekeeping any information. There's nothing secretive about coaching. It's just that coaching is going to expedite the process for you because we're making it specific to your lifestyle.
It's built into your lifestyle. It's all the things that we know work, and then figuring out, okay, based on the things you have going on, what's going to be most effective for you right now. So you are paying for the shortcut rather than trial and error through the guides and through the app and doing things on your own. we're going to say this is the data because we track all the data. It's not just calories and macros. This is not your cousin's health coach. This is all of the metrics built specifically for you, customized from the ground up when we onboard you. So we have all of your personal metrics. Think about Oura Ring or Whoop or whatever app you may be wearing on steroids. That's what your coach is. It's all those additional insights to create the perfect plan for you so you see the best results and you feel the best in the least amount of time. That's the point of coaching. Again, the app is more scaled back. We still involve the 5 pillars through guides that are within that. It's primarily a training app. So you get access to all of those training programs based on days per week you can train, equipment available, time available. We've got over 1,000 members in there who are all loving it. It's rapidly growing now that we're really promoting it. So people have been loving that. That's another resource. And again, just absorbing all this stuff. We've got the podcast, we've got the YouTube videos, we have our personal channels, we have our personal social media content. Not to be biased, I'm fucking loving those daily blogs. Like, I'm enjoying writing them. I'm enjoying reading them. Like,
our coaches are also going to be tapping into those too. So you're getting a variety of perspectives.
But it's just, if you're interested in a specific topic, like, go to the site, check out the blog, and like search through for something. Just scroll through.
Is our search feature live yet?
Yeah, they have to fine tune it. That page isn't totally refined on September 30th, 2024. Whenever you're listening to this, it'll be done this week. But yeah, search you get supplements, you've got nutrition, you've got lifestyle, you've got training. Those are all within that. So if you're really interested in learning, you've got the written version right there for you. Let's wrap it up here. I think that was a good one. Where can they find you?
I'm at Alessandra Skutnik.
I'm at Josh Skutnik.
Everything else you need is linked in the show notes.